What's up, everybody? I'm Mckenty. This is my second channel, and this is your home for my Twitch highlights and my podcast. So if you like this and you want to see more of that and you want to join the live streams, there's a link to that in the description of this video. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Here's the news from my friends at Metal Injection. Big fan of everything that they do. If you want the latest news on Rob Zombie, Cradle of Filth, Metallica, Megadeth, and David Lee Roth, head over to Metal Injection as always. Here is the news from my good friend Rob. Corpsegrinder's World of Warcraft character renamed over past homophobic slurs. I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'm not familiar with this. What I did know is that Corpsegrinder is big into WoW. He's been into the game forever. Like, I remember him talking about it, you know, probably going back to like almost 20 years ago or something like that. I was kind of surprised to see this headline because I don't remember a Corpsegrinder ever being that kind of guy. I've criticized Cannibal Corpse quite a bit for some of the lyrics from the Chris Barnes era. You know, they have a song that like stripped and strangled, another one called She Was Asking For It, with a knife, intros ripped from a virgin's like just really gross kind of misogynist lyrics. I've been pretty critical of Cannibal Corpse for that stuff. They do still play that stuff, but as far as I'm aware, the Corpsegrinder era, they haven't had too much stuff like that. I mean, their lyrics are obviously like dark and violent and stuff like that, but as far as I'm aware, nothing like super, you know, super misogynist or, you know, the Chris Barnes energy is gone. So I was kind of surprised to see this. A 2007 interview with Cannibal Corpse frontman George Corpsegrinder Fisher, which has long been blasted for Fisher's use of inappropriate language, has led to a non-playable character NPC in World of Warcraft named after Fisher to be rechristened. He has a character called Gorge the Corpsegrinder, which they have renamed to Annihilator Greklor. The original interview aired during the annual BlizzCon event in 2011, organized by the game promoters, and featured Fisher using homophobic terms to describe other factions in the game. So this is interesting. Like, they played this video at BlizzCon, which is like their big convention every year. So they played it, and now they're coming after him for it. The co-founder of the company, Michael Morheim, issued an apology at the time, agreeing that the comments were out of line, but no change was made to the Gorge the Corpsegrinder character. So they played this video in 2011, and it was okay then, but it's not okay now. Here's an interesting detail. According to the PRP, Blizzard Entertainment, the game's creators and Activision are in the middle of facing harassment and discrimination claims, including a lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and they're trying to clean up their act with changes to the game and their corporate environment. The companies are accused of having frat boy culture that is a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. Now, it's outside the scope of this video. You can go look it up, but it's pretty bad shit. Like, this lawsuit is bad. If the stuff in this lawsuit is true, which it probably is, at least more true than not, you can go read about the lawsuit, but it doesn't get this far if it's all made up. Like, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, there was definitely some objectionable shit going on at that company, and they're in trouble for it. Go read the details, but it's really bad. World of Warcraft fans and players began stirring up support for the character to be renamed since September, according to PRP, and the character of Gorge the Corpsegrinder has been renamed to Annihilator Greklor. To be clear, this is a non-playable character in a role-playing game. Also, let's keep in mind the band's name and song contents. Fisher has yet to comment on the matter. Here is the video in question, which I remember seeing years ago, but I hadn't watched until recently, and here it is.
I'm not playing, man. World of Warcraft is life for me. And I don't play no homo alliance either. I don't play no night up.
Okay, so that's the first part. He said the homo, like the alliance is one of the factions in the game. He said, I ain't playing no homo alliance. Not a homo, that's not that bad. Big deal, right? That's what I thought.
Those are gnomes, orcs, and undead. The alliance. Die, you emo cocksuckers.
They call them cocksuckers, which you could say is, yeah, I suppose you could say that that's homophobic. I don't really think that that's particularly homophobic.
I'm pathetic. When it comes to World of Warcraft, I'm a pathetic nerd. But I'm not alliance. I can tell you that much. Oh man, who the wants to play a gnome or a... I mean, dwarves are cool because of Gimli and Lord of the Rings, but night elves? You know? I'm telling you, don't get me on World of Warcraft. I'll be here all day. You die now, mother. I'll camp your ass for an hour. It's the game. It's only a game.
So far, to me, nothing that I would say is particularly offensive.
It's just a game. Hey, 9 million people are as up as me about it. Well, maybe not as up as me, but you know what kills me the most is all these hunter elves you see, and they're all like Legolas, but it's all spelled wrong. Off. That's Lord of the Rings, you emo cocksuckers.
There's a lot of strong opinions about this.
You ever gone to Blood Elf City Silver Moon? It's queer looking, man. All these
Queer looking, okay, that's, I would say that's definitely not cool, but again, not a huge deal to me.
pretty colors and shit. How the am I supposed to be an undead guy in Silver Moon City? Go cry in a river and tell me how you're gonna split your wrist, you night elf.
Okay, there we go. That word is not okay. And I understand why someone would be upset about that. It's not a cool word to use. But here's the conversation that I want to have. And I genuinely want to know what people think about this. That's not an okay word to use, period. Not okay. But this is from 2007, 15 years ago. And I will tell you, I said that word in 2007. I don't think it's cool that I said that word. Like, I called stuff gay. If you read my old blog from back then, like, you've seen me say that stuff. But it's 15 years ago. And it's been a long time since I said anything like that. I would imagine that probably a lot of the people who were offended about this probably said that same kind of stuff in 2007 as well. Because in 2007, it was more socially acceptable than it is now, right? And I'm not saying, that's okay or anything like that. But at what point, what do we do about this? I think it's an interesting question because, you've got him on video saying it, right? On the other hand, as people pointed out in the chat, how many times do people say this kind of shit, in games, in the chat, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They find ways around the word filter, stuff like that. Like, this is how people talk in video games. Blizzard played this video at their convention. What I'm curious about is, like, who is upset about this? And I couldn't find that. I saw this here. This is from September. World of Warcraft fans call for removal of Cannibal Corpse frontman George Corpsegrinder Fisher's in-game character over past homophobic slurs. Who are the actual people saying this? That's the part I can't find here. It just kind of says people are saying this. I would like to know who these people are and how many people is it. But yeah, is it like 18 people on Twitter that are mad about this? I'll tell you the way I think about it. And I would like to hear what you all think of this. I don't think that we want to live in a world where people get canceled. And to be clear, renaming his character in Warcraft, it's not like this is some horrible injustice to him. Like, he's not losing his job. Like, it's not a big deal. But it is sort of the larger question of what do we do when we find out that someone said something dumb like this 5, 10, 15 years ago? What do we do about that? I've thought about this quite a bit. As somebody who has said a lot of dumb shit, 10 years ago, I called stuff gay. I'm not proud of that, but I did. And obviously I didn't have any kind of homophobic intent behind it, but I called stuff gay because 10, 15 years ago, that's what people said. It would bum me out if somebody held that against me as though that was something I did today. Like, shouldn't we want to live in a culture where people are allowed to make mistakes 5, 10, 15 years ago and, change? The question is this reflective of the person's behavior in the present day? For example, DaBaby, went on this weird, I guess, homophobic rant at Rolling Loud a couple weeks or months ago, and people were upset about that. I think it's fair to hold him accountable for that because it happened, a month ago. This isn't something he said in 2009, but someone like Corpsegrinder, as far as I'm aware, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but as far as I'm aware, this is not how Corpsegrinder talks now. I called stuff gay in 2009. That's not how I talk anymore. Shouldn't we want to live in a world where people are allowed to change and do better? I would think so, because otherwise, if we won't forgive people for dumb behavior in the past, then why should they change? Everyone should be held accountable. I want to be clear about that. But if we live in a world where you will forever be judged by stuff you said 14 years ago, the same as if those words came out of your mouth yesterday, why would anybody ever change or apologize or want to, be a better person than that? Why would they? Because well, fuck it. I called something gay in 2007. I'm doomed. I might as well just keep being an idiot. I don't think we want that. I think it's fair to point out that somebody said something dumb a long time ago, but I think you have to allow people to change and you have to forgive people for that. And as long as it's not reflective of how they act in the present day, I think we should let it go. I suppose if it's something truly, truly horrible, like if we find out someone was an actual literal Nazi 15 years ago, that's one thing. But if you called something gay for a joke in 2007, I think we should let that go. That said, I do think that it would have been wise for him to just basically, I don't think you should try too hard to apologize because, with cancel culture, if you try to apologize, sometimes that just makes it worse. And that's part of the problem here, right? We see that the playbook for dealing with this is you don't apologize, you don't engage, you just keep going and just say, fuck you guys. You know, the Trump playbook. You never apologize, you never change, you just keep doing what you're doing, because when you apologize, it just makes it worse. So on the one hand, I would like to see him, or like MGK has said a lot of dumb shit too. I would like to see people like them just, they don't have to like get down on their hands and knees and beg. I would just like him to say, hey, some of you guys have brought up that interview I did back in 2007. That was dumb. You know, it's not cool to use that word. And everyone should just go, okay, so he doesn't feel that way anymore. Good enough. No big deal, and move on, right? But that's not how it works. You just keep raking these people over the coals for this shit again and again and again and again and again, and then nobody's going to listen to you. So I think that's the flaw that, you know, a lot of the cancel culture and woke people make. By making a huge deal out of everything, no matter how long ago it was, no matter how much the person has changed, no matter what the person says, they kind of blow all their credibility, because it just kind of makes you go, well, you people are never going to be happy no matter what I say or do. So fuck all of you. I'm never going to listen to anything you have to say again. And does anybody actually think that Corpsegrinder is a homophobe based on what he said? I don't think so. Again, I don't think it's cool to use that word, but does anybody actually think that he's homophobic? I don't think so. Intent doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was 14 years ago. Like, what are you supposed to do? I fully expect somebody to bring up something stupid that I said in 2009. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. And if it did happen, I would just say exactly what I said. I would say, look, yeah, I said a bunch of dumb shit in 2009. I don't say that stuff anymore. There's nothing to really talk about here. I haven't been looking at the chat here, but let's talk about it. Yeah, cancel people that do horrible things, not people that say dumb shit. I totally agree. Here's a comment from Femboy Slam Riffs. I just want to say context is everything. I open every show calling myself a F word, but I'm queer, so that's different than some rando calling me it on the street. Totally understandable. Personally, I'm not bothered by his usage of the term, but I also assume he knows better these days. If he said it today, it'd be different. That's how I feel about it too. And obviously, I'm a straight, cis, white male, so I am going to be less sensitive to these things on a personal level than other people would. But yeah, I think to me, it's like intent. Did he actually mean it in a hateful way? Like, did he go on some actual homophobic rant? That would be different. Clearly, no, he just meant it as a joke. And it was 14 years ago. Does it reflect his behavior today? I would say no. And as long as the person seems to, I don't want to say like apologize, but, you know, as long as they seem like they're not the same person then to me, we should let it go. Allow people to change. Tyler, the Creator, had homophobic lyrics and he's gay. Yes, that is true too. In the late 2000s, we had the internet, but nothing on the internet was archived like it is today. It was a social free-for-all. You know, this is a good point too. And I kind of wonder if that will be the downfall of cancel culture, is like the fact that everybody has skeletons in their closet. Anybody that was on the internet, you know, if you're an adult now, you said some dumb shit on the internet at one point or another when you were a little kid or a teenager or whatever. You said some dumb shit. So is everybody canceled? Or should we maybe just reserve that for the people who truly deserve it? It makes people resistant to moral and social progress. If change means that your past self will be held accountable by new and unforeseen standards, like opting to walk across a minefield, even if what's on the other side is better. Yeah, I think that's true, you know, and people should be accountable for the things they say. But I think a lot of the cancel culture people use accountable as really, they use a lot of these weasel words. And when they say, well, we're just holding you accountable. No, you're not holding someone accountable. What you're doing is like holding them hostage. Accountability would mean, hey, George, you said this 15 years ago. It's not that cool. What do you have to say about it? And if he was like, yeah, that was dumb. That was a dumb thing to say. I don't use that word anymore. That's accountability. He has to answer for it. You know, as long as he appears to have moved on, then it should be no big deal. That's my personal opinion. But again, you know, I'm a straight, cis, white male, so I acknowledge that my perspective is going to be different than somebody who might be personally affected by those words. Many of the cancel culture people could themselves be canceled for something they did 10 years ago. I would almost certainly agree that that's true. It's good to make change as a person, but struggle sessions just make people dig their heels in and form siloed communities. Yeah, that's exactly right. So this idea of a struggle session is basically, I think the origin of that is from like communist states that basically force people to go out in public and atone for their sins of, you know, wrong think against the fucking, you know, CCP or whoever it is. Yeah, these struggle sessions, that's the problem. Hold people accountable, sure. But struggle sessions are not productive, and it's not accountability. That's just like, it's a power trip is what it is with a lot of these cancel culture people. They just want to hold this stuff over your head and then watch you squirm. That's what they want to do. Here's what irritates me about it. If I thought that these cancel culture people actually gave a fuck about gay people or trans people or whoever else they're crusading on behalf of, I would be a lot more supportive, but I don't think that they care about it. I don't think anybody who's upset about this is actually upset because they believe it's harming gay people, because it's not. Like, let's be real, it's just not. Cancel culture is just a power struggle. They've realized that if they find dirt on you from 15 years ago, they can hold that over your head and make you dance. That's what I think it is. And it sucks, because here's the thing, and again, this is not that big of a deal for Corpsegrinder, but today they're coming after Corpsegrinder, but it could be any of us. It could be you. Maybe somebody you work with doesn't like you, and they found a Facebook post. Like, there's a Mr. Beast made a tweet in like 2015 when he was like 16 or something, where he said Windows is gay, and people holding that over his head. Does anyone actually think Mr. Beast is homophobic? Fuck no. And if you do, you're insane. And people should be much more upset, and people are upset about it, to be fair. This lawsuit that they're talking about here, like, that's what you should be upset about, because that is actually appears to be pretty nasty shit that is actually affecting people, you know, like primarily women, I think, from what I understand about it, a lot of kind of sexual harassment stuff. So that's what you should be upset about. I think this is true too. However, there's crap that people have said in the past that is very concerning, like Shane Dawson or MGK. I think that's true too. I guess I've canceled or not attempted to cancel, but you know, the way I talk about Tim Lambesis from As I Lay Dying, people might say like, why are you trying to cancel him or whatever? Well, I think there's some things that people do that are unforgivable. You know, he tried to have his wife killed in 2011 or whatever it was. I think that is unforgivable. I don't care what he ever says or does. Like, he will always be on my shit list for that. I don't think that's cool. That's an unforgivable thing to me, to try to kill your wife. Calling something gay for a joke 15 years ago, I don't think that's a big deal. I think that is forgivable. So I guess my thought on all this stuff is like, when we make mountains out of molehills, it's the boy who cried wolf. When we act like all of these things are of a similar level of importance, you know, that being an actual Nazi and calling something gay for a joke, when we treat people the same way for those two things, that's a problem, because it's just going to make people stop listening to you. And that's ultimately, society is going to be worse off for that, because here's the thing is that we should hold people accountable for things that they do that are actually wrong, that actually hurt people. We should hold them accountable for that. But in order for that accountability to mean anything, we also have to allow people to change and forgive people for minor things. If we treat everything like it's murder, then nothing matters anymore. Then we live in a crazy world that just doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of my thought on this, is like, if you believe in accountability, which I do think is important, people should be accountable for the things that they said and did. If you believe in accountability, then you also have to allow people to be forgiven. That's what I think. People have noted the link between shitty corporate culture and tenuous employment situations and cancel culture. Most of it happens with cowardly businesses preferring to fire someone rather than get bad press. That's true. If you support labor rights and the rights of workers to be safe, secure workplace, then you should be opposed to cancel culture. That's true too. I do think that that's an interesting point, you know, that if you support labor rights and you support workers, then you should oppose cancel culture. It's mob rule. And it's not good for anybody. I mean, I'm not mad about this, and I don't need anyone mad on my behalf. Just saying. That's from Femboy Slam Riffs, who, again, is a queer person. And then Jared says, you just don't understand how good it makes us look when we protect you. That's my thing, is like, so much of this is just fucking virtue signaling, people crusading on behalf of people who didn't fucking ask for it. It's so insulting and patronizing to me that there's this whole group of people. It's like a savior complex. All these people who are like, gay people and black people and trans people can't take care of, they need me. And the way I'm going to crusade on their behalf is by dragging up tweets from 9 years ago. It's insulting. Like, if you actually care about gay people or trans people or black people or whatever, I think that's awesome. Like, go do something about it that's more productive than being a fucking Twitter detective, you know? Go do something that actually matters. Anyway, enough said about this. I just thought it was kind of an interesting situation. Do you think it's interesting that nobody's upset about Cannibal Corpse's lyrics? Like, they're not upset that they have a song called She Was Asking For It, or Fucked With a Knife, or Intros Ripped From a Virgin's Cunt. They're not upset about that. They're upset that he called orcs gay. I think that's kind of strange, but whatever. Enough said. Oh, he said elves were gay. I'm sorry, my mistake.